What's up YouTube? In this video I'm going to show you how to make kombucha according to the Kombucha Revolution book. It's an excellent book. Definitely do check it out, buy it, or check it out in your library as it has lots of recipes. And I'm gonna follow their kombucha master recipe right over here. It's gonna be a plain kombucha. And by the way, this book is written by the author of or actually the founder of Kombucha Wonder Drink, which is a commercially available kombucha, and it's I've had it before. Bought it at natural food stores. It's a pretty good. I like it, but this time I'm gonna make my own. The ingredients that you're going to need is, first off, reverse osmosis water or purified water. You want to make sure your water is as clean as possible. Do not use tap water, as it does contain chlorine and heavy metals and might even contain fluoride. You definitely want to avoid those chemicals, so get reverse osmosis water. It's only 50 cents a gallon. This is a 1 gallon glass jug. Again, no plastic here because plastic does leach chemicals that you want to avoid. So yes, so make sure you get that water. And how much you're going to need is basically you're going to need 14 cups. Okay, 14 cups at least. Get at least 14 cups. I just have a gallon over here. So you will need probably two gallons to supply those 14 cups, just to be safe. Next thing you're going to need is organic cane sugar. That's the one I have over here. You will need 1 cup. Okay, 1 cup. So make sure you have that. As far as other ingredients, you will need a starter tea. It can be black, oolong, or green tea. In this case, we're using green tea. You will need 16 to 20 bags. This package is organic green tea. It came with 20 bags. Just a heads up, I think it's a little bit better to actually use loose tea when making kombucha, because you will be avoiding any kind of extra stuff you don't really need, such as the bags. You know, some of them are bleached, some of them have metal staples, etc. So I think next time when I make kombucha, it's going to be made with loose tea, and I will use a filter mesh to filter out any loose tea. And as a matter of fact, one of the bags broke when I was the other two main ingredients that you're going to need is the SCOBY, which is a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. So that's the mushroom. Those strands right there, the dark ones, that's yeast. The white one is the mother culture. Okay, so the SCOBYs, they produce babies, which is layers of thin film on top of the original culture. If if you can't get somebody to give you one, like it's been, that's how it was historically. Even my grandma in the 70s, she actually got their original SCOBY from their friend, and then they grew some babies and they shared it with their friends, and that's how it spread back then. Over here, if you don't know anyone with a SCOBY, yeah, you can buy them at the stores, but I think that's overpriced. Best way to go about it is to actually grow your own. The way we did it actually is you get a Synergy brand organic kombucha, and I'll show you the bottle. Actually, I have it right here. So make sure you get the unflavored one, which is the blue bottle original. So that one's pretty good because it's raw and organic. Okay, and use that if you don't have a SCOBY, because it does have a little SCOBY in that bottle. And so once your tea culture cools down, you can make sure you pour the whole bottle, that's 16 ounces, into your tea mixture. Okay, and that's going to create, eventually what it's going to do, it's going to create a bigger SCOBY on top, and you can use that from that point on to make more batches. And aside from getting the SCOBY, you will need the starter tea. Starter tea is not the tea that you're brewing, but it's actually the tea from a previous batch of kombucha. You will need 2 cups of that. So if you don't have that, just get the Synergy kombucha at the store, and you can use that as a starter tea and as a SCOBY growing starter. Okay, that's how we did it. That's how we grew our kombuchas, and from now on we're just using our own grown kombuchas, SCOBYs, and the starter tea from all of our previous batches. So yes, as far as supplies, you will need a 4 liter glass jar, okay, like this one. So 4 liter is about 1 gallon, okay, so 1 gallon jar, 4 liter jar. You will need something to cover it, like a coffee filter or like a cotton cloth, something. Make sure it's clean, make sure it's breathable, but make sure that the holes are not so big, because if the holes are big, bugs can get inside. You don't want that because it's going to contaminate. Rubber band to hold it in place. As far as other supplies go, if you will need some measuring cups. I'm just using this one because I know this big cup is actually 2 standard measuring cups, so that's how I measure it. You can also use a smart scale like this one. This one actually tells you how many cups and this and that, so that one's pretty good. You will also need a large pot for your main tea and the cover to cover it up. You will need a strainer if you're making loose tea, a strainer, little strainer. And if you're using bags, you don't really need a strainer, but it's a good tool to have. You will need like a stirring spoon, and for the second fermentation you will need bottles. Second fermentation is optional, okay, but if you want the kombucha to have those bubbles, that sizzle, you know, if you want it to have carbonation, this is for second fermentation, which is optional. But these are special bottles. They're thick, so they don't blow up because it's gonna build up pressure inside, okay? It's a second fermentation, and they have a seal on top. They have a seal that you can seal it up, make sure no air escapes, so that way it gets carbonated naturally, okay? So this is optional, but it's a pretty good, it's pretty worth it, I think. Okay, so bring 6 ounces of purified water to near a boil. You want to warm it up, don't overboil it, because you don't want water to lose oxygen. And after it's at 170 degrees Fahrenheit, you can use the thermometer to test that. We're gonna add this premium organic Hawaii grown Mauna Kea tea, which is loose leaf actually, and we're gonna steep it for 4 minutes, and we're going to stir it halfway at 2 minutes, and we're gonna have it all covered so that way it absorbs the flavor better. Okay, here we go. Adding this beautiful green tea. The amount here is 1 ounce, which is slightly less than 30 grams, which is okay. You want to have between 16 and 20 tea bags, which is about 30 grams. Stir it initially, and I'm going to cover it up. Okay, I'm stirring it halfway at 2 minutes, and it smells amazing. By the way, this tea is really expensive. We paid $12 for just 1 ounce of it, and that was on sale from $17.59 or something like that. Right, the tea is ready, and next step is to strain it. Since it's loose green tea, you will need a strainer for that. Well, so it helps to have another bowl if you need to do any kind of transfers for that. I have a medium-sized pot and a large pot. The large pot is the main pot where I brewed the tea, and this medium-sized pot is my secondary pot in case I need to do transfers. The next step is to add 8 cups of purified water. This is to cool it down and to dilute the solution. How am I measuring everything? Well, I have a smart scale. Actually can tell you how many cups of water you have. You can do obviously the weights too. Okay, and then cover it up and let it cool to room temperature. So let it cool to about 75 degrees, because if the tea mixture is too hot, it can actually hurt the SCOBY, and you don't want to do that. So make sure it cools off to 75 degrees or just around there, room temperature. Alright, so next thing you're gonna do is you're going to add 1 cup of organic sugar if you're making kombucha. Okay, so I already made a batch of kombucha over here. This is actually second batch. You can see the SCOBYs in there. It's nice, covered up, beautiful. But for this example, I'm actually going to put 1 cup of organic Hawaii raw honey. And the reason I'm doing this is because it's gonna create a mixture called JUN. So JUN is similar to kombucha. The only difference, you're using organic honey instead of sugar cane. And you're also, instead of making it after it's all done, instead of fermenting it for 7 days, you're gonna ferment it for a little bit less time, like 5 days or 4 days. You can test it out, taste it, see how the taste is right. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same. This one is called JUN, J-U-N. So it's a variation of kombucha. Otherwise, if you want real kombucha, not that JUN is not real, but it's just the only difference is that I'm using organic honey in this case. Over here, I used organic sugar, and this one using the organic honey. If you are making JUN, please wait until the mixture cooled off, because you don't want to kill the honey with too hot water. You don't want to kill the enzymes since the honey is raw. You want to preserve that rawness, so wait until the water cools off. And once you add it, make sure you stir it. Doesn't matter if you're adding sugar or honey, make sure you stir it, because if you don't stir it, especially sugar, it has a tendency to condensate on the bottom, kind of build up on the bottom. So when you're going to be pouring it into the glass jar, it's going to be harder. So make sure you stir it. In case you're wondering which honey I used the Big Island Bees organic Hawaiian honey, which is the Wile Laiki Blossom raw organic honey from the Big Island. We actually did go and visit their bee farm, and that was a great experience, really cool. Okay, and this last step in the process, you're going to pour all this tea that you brewed, and the jar already had the SCOBY and the starter tea. Okay, and then you're gonna cover it up with a clean cloth that's breathable. And put a rubber band around it to keep it in place. And what I like to do is also put all kinds of good signs, like good quotes on the jars. This is extra, this is optional, but things like thank you, eternal gratitude, I love you, infinite love. The date when you started this process is important, because in 5 days from the date that you started, you want to do a test. A good way to test it out is to just grab a straw and insert it in, holding the tip, and then pull out whatever, and then you can taste it with a straw to see if it's too sweet, or if it's just right, or if it needs a little bit longer time to ferment. So the reason I like putting these over here is because water can actually breed different energies and vibrations, and I want to put as much good vibration into this batch as possible. There's actually a book on this subject by a Japanese scientist who discovered these qualities of water. Alright, so this batch right here has undergone second fermentation, and it's a special bottle. It's thick, and you can seal it so that the gases don't escape. That way it gets carbonated, it gets fuzzy. So I left it out for 2 days, and then I put it in the fridge to keep it cool. So now I'm going to try it out. Cheers. Really good. Very, very good. Very refreshing. I would say I like it probably better than the best kombucha that I usually buy in the store. So I'm really happy with the results. It has just the right amount of sweetness, just the right amount of tartness, and very nice flavor. Hope you enjoy it. Cheers. Thanks for watching, and check us out at organichawaii.org and elixirdivine.com. Mahalo. Enjoy.